Today I'm going to bring you along on something that has helped me a lot in my healing journey, enough that I wrote a book about it. The Glimmers. Glimmers saved my life. Not to be dramatic. At a time when there was nothing big that was good in my life, I had to start getting really granular on finding little things that made me realize the world was still turning and life was okay, and I was here and I was real and I was present. That's why glimmers are so important to me. And the best way that I find glimmers is by looking to nature. So today we're going to go on a walk. We're going to see what we can find. If you're in a hard season right now, or if you just want to start bringing more little moments of peace and joy into your life, I think this will help. Let's go. But right away, doesn't the water look like it's glittering? Like it's sparkling? It's as simple as that. So the thing with glimmers is that you don't have to force them. They're already there. You just have to be open to seeing them. You got to be open to finding them. And remember, glimmers don't have to be big things. They don't have to make you feel joy or gratitude. Sometimes all we really need is a second to let ourselves calm down, get out of our heads, feel the ground beneath your feet, hear the birds. When you're in a hard time, I think it's useful to find the glimmers, because for me, I overthink things, and that's good when you want to solve problems, but sometimes your brain just needs a break. The other thing about glimmers is that they're accessible. So right now I'm on a walk in nature. You might not have nature accessible to you, but the glimmers are still accessible to you. It's not about finding something pretty or aesthetic or joyful. It's just noticing the details. So here's something I like to do. Sometimes I think it's good to just pick a spot to look at, an environment to take in, and let yourself be open to seeing new things about it. So right now, this is my view. It doesn't look like much, right? It's a lot of dead foliage, but look, you dive in, can you see the water droplets? Those perfect little drops. And then look, it looked like just dead foliage, but look at that color and the way the bark of this tree grows in a cool pattern, and how the light makes little dappled sunshine patches. There's a whole world, and I'm moving so fast and I don't see it most of the time. Doesn't have to be big at all. In fact, I think it's better if it's small. And I think sometimes with nature, our brains make up what we're seeing, filling in the blanks when we're moving really quickly. When you stop and you look, every single blade of grass is an individual blade. It's not just grass moving as one. And the sounds you hear, it's not just the sound of the wind, but it's the way it's moving each of the leaves on the ground and on the trees. And my favorite is when you think that there's no wildlife around you, and all of a sudden you look up and you can see a bird. I can even hear birds now that I couldn't hear before. Using all my senses, so sound, it might not necessarily be that you hear anything beautiful, but things like noticing when you're out in the open and it's really windy and loud, and then you go under trees and that wind is muted, just acknowledging the shift in the sounds. Sometimes the wind sounds like the ocean. And if you don't have an ocean super near you, like me, we can pretend. Movement makes for a really good way to see glimmers, especially because movement will draw your eye to something. The way water moves, or the way plants move, a leaf moving in the wind. I think it's useful. It's useful to just see how movement catches your eye and let yourself absorb what you're seeing. Again, the goal here isn't to see a magical portal to a different world. It's just to calm yourself. Remember that you're present. Get yourself out of your head. Okay, look, I pan through here and it just looks like brown foliage. But look at the pink of these berries. I would love a sweater in these colors. Sometimes glimmers are things that you see, touch, hear, but sometimes they're things you realize. So, like this tree, look. This is a dead tree. Still, even though it's not functioning as a tree it was originally created as, it still has a purpose because there are nests in it and it provides shelter. Sometimes seeing the way nature evolves helps me feel like that can happen for me too. Things I thought were going to go one way, I thought I was going to be someone, like I was a wife. I thought I was going to be a mom. It's not that those things can't happen, but they're not happening right now. And sometimes, I don't know, it's useful to see the way nature kind of evolves, even if it's not what you thought it was going to be at the start. Look at these. Look at the colors. I think that's something about glimmers that are special to me. No one can take them away from you. No one can take away your ability to find them. Even when it feels like you're not in control of anything in your life. I don't know, glimmers helped me find some semblance of a baseline, of finding my own things that brought me peace or calm, joy. I think when you go through something hard, even if you're not going through a situation that's hard, maybe just a patch of life that's really bumpy. For me, feeling like there's nothing that I can do to make my life better feels like, what's the point in keeping on going, you know? And when I went through my separation and my divorce, that was a big feeling that I had. I realized I had put a lot, almost all of my joy and hope into something that wasn't actually anything I could control. No matter how hard I tried, I wasn't going to be able to give myself the future that I had envisioned with the person I had envisioned it with. Finding glimmers kind of gave me my power back in a way, because your glimmers don't have to make sense to anyone else. In fact, a lot of mine probably wouldn't make sense to anyone else, and your glimmers are your own. That's why in my book I found so many of them, because not everything will relate to everyone. The good thing about glimmers is that once you start noticing them, you start seeing them everywhere. I used to believe that quote, you can't be upset when you're being grateful, and it's a lovely idea, but I call bull, because you can be grateful for things and still really be struggling. That's why glimmers for me, to be honest, I didn't even know that that's what they were. I didn't know they had a name. But when I was in like my darkest moment, no amount of gratitude was gonna make me feel not upset. And sometimes you just gotta feel upset. Sometimes life just really sucks, but the glimmers are there. And I know I've said it a million times, but you don't have to be grateful for them. Over time, I definitely found gratitude for all of the glimmers that I see. The more I trained myself to look for them, the more I was able to see them. But the point of glimmers for me is that it's a reminder that there is hope, that there are things to see in places you didn't think there was anything left to look at. There are things we can do to calm your nervous system without faking positivity or optimism. Sometimes when you're feeling really bad, you don't need to feel good to feel better. You just need to not feel as bad. To me, glimmers feel like hope. For a lot of my life over the last 2 years, everything has felt hopeless. So I kind of had to create my own hope, my own little sparkles that no one could take away from me. You don't have to know why you like them. You don't have to know why they're a glimmer. They just have to be something that soothe your nervous system. There's no rules, just guidelines. That's kind of what I wanted to do with this walk, is just maybe open your eyes to just how many things can be glimmers when you're in that like scary place where nothing is good. I promise you that there is good and there's life happening, and I promise you are worthy of seeing it, that it's there for you. It's yours. No one can take it away from you. No one can take it away from you.